The first thing Dad taught me about money was to always keep receipts. The last thing he did was leave me with a mountain of them, unpaid bills stuffed in his desk drawer like guilty secrets. I found them 3 days after his funeral, while my brother Clint was downstairs being crowned the new man of the house. My name is Yvonne, and I'm the daughter who wasn't supposed to understand finances. Look at all these papers, my mother Yolanda sighed from the study doorway, watching me sort through Dad's belongings. Your father was always so organized with his business matters. I bit back a laugh. The organized man had hidden $47,000 in credit card debt behind false statements and unopened envelopes. But she didn't need to know that. Not yet. Hey, sis, Clint appeared, lounging against the doorframe. Mom needs you downstairs for a family meeting. I'm kind of busy here. Now, Yvonne, Mom cut in. This is important. I followed them to the living room, still clutching a handful of past due notices. The same room where we'd hosted Dad's wake last week, where relatives had patted Clint's shoulder and murmured about him stepping up while I stood in the corner calculating funeral costs. Sit down, dear. Mom perched on Dad's old armchair like it was a throne. We need to discuss the family's future. Clint sprawled across the couch, smirking. I remained standing. Things will be different now, Mom continued. Your brother needs to establish himself as the head of this household. It's what your father would have wanted. Establish himself? I echoed. He doesn't even have a job. Which is exactly why we're having this discussion, Mom said. Clint has several business opportunities he's exploring. Very promising ones. Clint nodded sagely. Big things coming, sis. Just need some startup capital. That's wonderful, I said flatly. What does this have to do with me? Mom straightened her spine. Well, Leah mentioned you received quite a substantial bonus at work recently. $20,000, I believe? Of course, Leah had mentioned it. My best friend didn't know yet how carefully I managed information around my family. I'd have to fill her in soon. That's my money, I said carefully. From my job. And family takes care of family, Mom replied. Your brother needs this seed money to get started. To honor your father's legacy. I looked at Clint, who had the audacity to wink at me. Dad's legacy? The man just died. We haven't even paid off his funeral yet. Which is exactly why Clint needs to step up now, Mom insisted. He's the man of the house. It's your duty to support him in this role. My duty? The word tasted bitter. Yes, your duty. As his sister. As a daughter who respects her family's traditions. I glanced down at the bills still crushed in my fist. 5 years I'd been quietly paying their mortgage, utilities, and Dad's mounting debts. 5 years of being the invisible support beam while they praised Clint's occasional odd jobs as showing real initiative. The transfer needs to happen today, Clint added. Time-sensitive opportunity. You know how it is. I knew exactly how it was. I'd seen his kind of opportunities before. The ones that always seemed to need emergency cash but never produced results. Yvonne. Mom's voice hardened. Your bonus should go to Clint. It's your duty. He's the man now. I stood there, surrounded by the ghosts of unpaid bills and unspoken truths. They were watching me expectantly. The grieving widow and the golden son, so certain of their rightness they couldn't see the storm brewing behind my eyes. I could have shown them the statements then, could have revealed how I'd been holding up their house of cards all along. But revenge, like compound interest, grows better over time. Of course, I said softly. I'll make the transfer right now. Mom's face lit up with approval. Clint pumped his fist like he'd earned something. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, already mapping out my next moves. They wanted their man of the house? Fine, let them have him. But first, I needed to make a call to Leah. And then another to Aunt Gabriella, who Dad had written off years ago for being too focused on her career. I had a feeling she'd have some very interesting insights about family duty and financial responsibility. I looked up from my phone and smiled. Would you like to watch me transfer it, Clint? So you know it's done? He nodded eagerly, not noticing my tone, not realizing that sometimes the most dangerous moves in finance look exactly like compliance. After all, Dad taught me to keep receipts, and I had every single one. There you go, I said, turning my phone screen toward Clint. $20,000, transferred to your account. He practically bounced off the couch to check his own phone. The notification pinged, and his face lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. Got it. Thanks, sis. You won't regret this. But I already knew I wouldn't regret it. Not for the reasons he thought. I need to get back to Dad's study, I said, standing up. Still lots to organize. Mom caught my arm. Why don't you let Clint handle the paperwork? It's his responsibility now. I gestured to the mess upstairs. There's 5 years of statements up there. I'm already halfway through sorting them. Fine, she sighed, but bring anything important to your brother. Back in the study, I closed the door and pulled out my phone again. My hands shook slightly as I typed a message to Leah. It's done. Time to initiate phase 1. Her response came instantly. You actually gave him the money? Are you sure about this? I opened my banking app again, this time navigating to a different screen. The one showing the automatic payments I'd set up years ago. Mortgage, $2,000 monthly. Utilities, averaged $450. Property taxes, $3,600 annually. Dad's credit card minimum payments, $900 monthly. Trust me, I texted back. I know exactly what I'm doing. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Leah. Girl, talk to me, she said when I answered. What's really going on? I lowered my voice. Remember that software you helped me install last month? The one that tracks financial activity? The monitoring system? Yeah, why? Keep it running. I have a feeling Clint's gonna try something stupid with that money. Through the floor, I heard the front door slam. Looking out the window, I watched Clint practically sprint to his car. He's already leaving, I told Leah. Probably heading straight to Mekki's. That shady friend of his? The one who's always got a business opportunity? Exactly. I pulled out a fresh folder from my bag. Which is why I need you to help me document everything from here on out. Yvonne, Leah's voice softened. I know they've been taking advantage of you, but are you sure you want to go this far? I opened the folder, revealing printed copies of every bill I'd paid since Dad first got sick. Every transfer I'd made to cover their shortfalls. Every time I'd quietly saved them from financial disaster while they praised Clint for bringing home takeout. They don't even know I own the house, I said quietly. What? When Dad got sick, he couldn't keep up with the payments. The bank was about to foreclose. I bought it outright and transferred it to my name. They never even asked how the mortgage payments magically stayed current. Holy shit, Leah breathed. How much have you spent keeping them afloat? I ran my finger down the total at the bottom of my spreadsheet. $217,000 over 5 years. And they just demanded another $20,000 like it was nothing? Yep. I heard Mom's footsteps in the hallway and lowered my voice further. Got to go. Keep monitoring those accounts. I hung up just as Mom walked in, carrying a cup of tea. Here, dear. You've been working so hard up here. Thanks, Mom. I accepted the cup, noting how she glanced anxiously at the papers spread across the desk. You know, you don't have to deal with all this, she said. Clint can... My phone buzzed with a notification. I checked it while Mom was still talking. Alert. Attempted access to home equity line of credit detected. Location. First National Bank, downtown branch name. On application, Yvonne Parker. Status. Pending verification. I smiled into my tea. Right on schedule. Actually, Mom, I cut in, I think I will let Clint handle this. You're right. He's the man of the house now. He should know exactly what he's responsible for. She beamed. That's my girl. I knew you'd understand. As she left, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Clint. Hey, sis. Quick question, he said, trying to sound casual. You wouldn't happen to have any of those utility bills handy? The ones with your signature on them? Sure, I replied smoothly. But why do you need those? Oh, just trying to get organized. Take responsibility and all that. Of course. I'll scan them over right away. I hung up and opened my laptop, pulling up a folder labeled Phase 1. Inside were carefully doctored utility bills, ones that would pass a quick visual inspection but fail any serious verification process. Perfect for catching someone in the act of fraud. I attached them to an email and hit send, then texted Leah. The bait has been taken. Start recording everything. Aunt Gabriella's office looked exactly like I'd imagined. Sleek, organized, and completely unlike anything my father would have approved of. She studied the stack of documents I'd brought, her reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. Well, she said finally, this is quite the paper trail you've built. I learned from the best. I gestured to her wall of accounting certificates. Even if Dad didn't want me to, she snorted. Your father was many things, but financially literate wasn't one of them. She tapped the mortgage statements. Though, I have to admit, I never thought he'd let the house get this close to foreclosure. He didn't let anyone know. I found out by accident when I overheard him arguing with the bank on the phone. And you bought it yourself? She leaned back in her chair. Without telling them? It was easier than watching Dad lose everything he'd worked for. I pulled out another folder. But that's not why I'm here. I need your help understanding something. I spread out the documents from my earlier research. Bank statements, loan applications, credit reports, all showing irregular activities under my name. Gabriella's eyes narrowed as she scanned them. These signatures, they're forgeries. Clint's work. He's been using my information to take out payday loans for months. She shuffled through more papers, her frown deepening. This is more than just payday loans, Yvonne. These are attempts to access serious credit. Home equity lines, business loans. She looked up sharply. Did you authorize any of this? No, but I've been tracking everything. Smart girl. She pulled out her keyboard. Let me run these through our fraud detection software. While she worked, I thought about the last time I'd seen her, at a family dinner 6 years ago. Dad had thrown her out for suggesting he get professional financial advice. No sister of mine is going to tell me how to manage my money, he declared. The printer whirred to life, spitting out page after page of analysis. This is worse than I thought, Gabriella said, spreading out the results. Your brother's been busy. Look at these patterns. She pointed to a series of transactions. He tried to use your identity for at least 12 different loan applications in the past 3 months. Most were rejected, but 3 went through. And here, she flipped to another page. He's been opening credit cards in your name since before your father died. I knew about those, I said. I've been monitoring everything since I caught him the first time. The first time? I pulled out an older statement. 2 years ago, I gave him $10,000 for what he called an emergency. Found out later, he'd used it to pay off a gambling debt. When that wasn't enough, he forged my signature to get more. Gabriella's face hardened. And your mother? Still thinks he can do no wrong. Even after I gave him another $20,000 yesterday. You what? She stared at me. Why would you? Because I needed proof. I showed her the alerts on my phone. He's already trying to use it as collateral for bigger loans. In my name. Understanding dawned in her eyes. You're building a case. I'm ending this. I squared my shoulders. But I need to know, if he's opened accounts under my name again. What's my liability? Gabriella's expression turned serious. If you can prove fraud, none. But you need to act fast. The longer these accounts stay open, the harder it becomes to prove you weren't complicit. She pulled out a legal pad. Here's what you need to do. First, file a police report. Then, no, I cut in. Not yet. I need one more piece of evidence first. Yvonne, she warned. If he's committing identity theft, trust me, I have a plan. I gathered the documents. But I need you to be ready when I call. Can you do that? She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. You're nothing like your father. You know that? Thank God for that. As I stood to leave, my phone buzzed. A text from Leah. You need to see this. Clint just tried to access your investment accounts. Gabriella must have seen something change in my face. What is it? He's moving faster than I expected. I showed her the text. I need to accelerate the timeline. She grabbed my arm as I turned to go. If he opened accounts under your name again, you may be liable. You need to strike before they do. I smiled grimly. Don't worry, Aunt Gabriella. I've got something better than a strike planned. What? A reckoning. I headed for the door. And this time I'm keeping all the receipts. So, sis, Clint lounged in Dad's old office chair, spinning lazily. About that budget meeting tomorrow. I kept my expression neutral as I organized papers on the desk. What about it? I've been thinking, he said. Maybe we should look at consolidating some assets. You know, streamline things. Streamline things? I echoed, carefully placing a hidden voice recorder under a stack of folders. Yeah, like combining accounts, making everything more family-oriented. He stopped spinning to look at me. Mom agrees it would be easier if I handled all the paperwork. I bet she did. That's quite a responsibility, I said, checking my phone. Leah's surveillance software was running perfectly. Are you sure you're ready for that? Please, he scoffed. I've got big plans. Actually, I'm meeting with some investors later. Very exclusive opportunity. Would these investors happen to include Makey? His eyes narrowed slightly. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I smiled sweetly. Just making conversation. My phone vibrated. A text from Leah. Got the cameras installed in the living room. Audio's crystal clear. Well, Clint stood up. I should get going. Those investors won't wait forever. Of course. Don't let me keep you. The moment he left, I texted Leah. He's heading out. Start recording. 20 minutes later, I watched through the security app as Clint and Makey settled into our living room. Mom was at her book club. Perfect timing. Man, you should have seen her face. Clint's voice came through clearly on the feed. Just handed over 20 grand like it was nothing. Makey laughed. Your sister's either stupid or loaded. Both, Clint said. Been paying all the bills for years without saying a word. Dad had her trained good. What about the house thing? That gonna work? Already submitted the application. Used those utility bills she sent over. Signature looked good enough. Once the HELOC comes through, we're golden. She won't notice? Nah. Clint propped his feet on the coffee table. By the time anyone figures it out, we'll be long gone with the cash. Besides, I'm the man of the house now. Everything's supposed to go through me anyway. I saved the recording and sent it straight to my secure cloud storage. Then I texted Leah. Got it. Kill the feed. My phone rang immediately. Girl, Leah said when I answered. Please tell me you're calling the cops now. Not yet. I pulled up my banking app. First, I need to check something. There it is. What? The HELOC application. Just got flagged by the bank's fraud department. I forwarded the alert to my lawyer. Now we wait. For what? For him to get desperate. I started gathering my things. When that loan gets denied, he'll try something bigger. And this time, we'll have it all on record. You're scary sometimes, you know that? I learned from the best. I paused at my desk. Hey, can you do me one more favor? Name it. I need you to come over tomorrow for the budget meeting. Bring your laptop. The one with all the recording software? That's the one. I heard the front door open. Clint returning. Got to go. See you tomorrow. I made it downstairs just as Mom came home from book club. Oh, good. You're both here, she said, beaming at us. Clint, honey, How did your meeting go? Great, he said, not meeting my eyes. Really great. Actually, sis, I need to talk to you about some paperwork. Tomorrow, I cut in. At the budget meeting. We can discuss everything then. But my phone buzzed again. Another alert. HELOC application status. Denied, suspected fraudulent activity. Something wrong? I asked innocently, watching his face. No, he said quickly. Nothing wrong. Tomorrow's fine. After they both went to bed, I checked my phone one last time. A new message from Leah. Bank just flagged another attempt. He tried to access your investment accounts again. I smiled in the darkness. Everything was falling into place. Perfect, I texted back. Tell the bank to let it process this time. I want him to think it worked. You sure about this? I thought about all the times I'd stayed quiet. All the years of being the responsible one, the invisible one, the one they took for granted. Absolutely, I replied. Sometimes you have to let them think they've won before you show them how much they've lost. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. The revenge file sat heavy in my briefcase as I made coffee the next morning. 5 years of evidence, all perfectly organized. Every transfer, every forged document, every secret recording. My lawyer had reviewed it twice to ensure everything was legally obtained and admissible. Morning, dear, Mom chirped, entering the kitchen. Ready for the budget meeting? Almost. I poured her a cup. Just waiting for Leah. Leah? Mom frowned. Why is she coming? Oh, didn't Clint tell you? She's helping with the financial software. I kept my voice light, since he's taking over everything. The doorbell rang before she could respond. Leah walked in, carrying her laptop, giving me a subtle nod. Everything set? I whispered as we hugged. Recording software's running, she whispered back. Got your aunt on standby too. Clint stumbled downstairs looking hungover, but his eyes were sharp when he spotted my briefcase. What's all that? Just some papers you need to sign, I said. For the transfer of responsibilities. His face lit up. Great. Let's get started then. We gathered around the dining room table, the same one where Dad used to lecture us about family duty. Mom sat at his old spot, beaming at Clint like he'd already accomplished something. Before we begin, I said, opening my briefcase, there's something we need to discuss. Actually, Mom interrupted, I have some papers for you first, Yvonne. She pulled out a folder. Just some authorizations regarding the house and family trust fund. Nothing major. I almost laughed. The house she thought she controlled. The trust fund I'd dissolved last week. Sure, Mom. I smiled sweetly. Let's meet this weekend. I'll bring everything. No, Clint cut in sharply. We need to handle this now. Why the rush? I asked, watching him squirm. Because, he glanced at Mom. Because it's important for the family structure. Structure, I repeated, pulling out my first document. Let's talk about structure. Leah's fingers moved quietly across her keyboard, recording everything. This is a complete record of our family's finances for the past 5 years, I continued. Every bill, every payment, every loan. Mom waved her hand dismissively. We don't need to review all that. Your brother will handle it from now on. Like he handled the $20,000 I gave him? Clint's face paled slightly. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I pulled out my phone, that I know exactly what you did with that money. I played the recording of his conversation with Makey. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Clint, what is he talking about? It's nothing, he said quickly. Just business talk. Business? I laid out bank statements. Is that what you call identity theft? The room went silent. Leah kept typing, capturing every moment. I don't know what you're talking about, Clint stammered. No? I pushed forward the HELOC application. So this isn't your handwriting? Your forged version of my signature? Mom grabbed the paper, her hands shaking. There must be some mistake. No mistake. I pulled out more documents. He's been doing this for years, taking loans in my name, opening credit cards, gambling away every cent. That's a lie. Clint stood up, his chair scraping back. Mom, she's just jealous because you made me head of the family. Head of what family? I asked quietly. The one whose bills I've been paying? The one whose house I own? You don't own, Mom began. I slid the deed across the table. Check the name. They stared at the document, at my name listed as sole owner. But how? Mom whispered. Because someone had to save us from foreclosure when Dad got sick. Someone had to keep this family afloat while you were busy praising your precious son. Clint lunged for the papers, but Leah was faster, pulling them back. Don't bother, I said. It's all backed up. Every document, every recording, every fraudulent application you submitted. You can't prove anything, he snarled. Actually, I pulled out one final folder. I can prove everything, and this weekend, I'm taking it all to the police. Mom started crying. Yvonne, please, he's your brother. No, I stood up, gathering my evidence. He's your son, the man of the house, remember? And now you get to deal with exactly what that means. I nodded to Leah, who stopped recording and began packing up. You have until Monday, I said, heading for the door. Either Clint confesses to everything and agrees to repayment, or I file charges. Your choice. You wouldn't, Clint called after me. You're bluffing. I turned back one last time, thinking of all the years they'd taken me for granted. Try me. The weekend passed in silence. No calls, no texts, no desperate attempts to negotiate. By Monday morning, I almost wondered if they'd forgotten my ultimatum. Then Mom called. We need to talk, she said, her voice tight. Tonight. Dinner. I'll bring the files, I replied, and hung up. Leah met me outside the house that evening, laptop tucked under her arm. You sure you want to do this? No turning back now. I checked my phone. Aunt Gabriella was on standby, ready to conference in. Let's finish this. Mom had ordered takeout. Chinese food. My favorite. A peace offering, maybe, or just her way of avoiding the kitchen. Clint sat at the table looking like he hadn't slept in days. Before we start, Mom said as we sat down, I want you to know we've discussed everything as a family. As a family? I cut in. You mean you and Clint discussed how to handle me? That's not fair, Clint protested weakly. Fair? I opened my briefcase. Let's talk about fair. Leah quietly set up her laptop, the recording software already running. This, I laid out the first document, is a complete record of every dollar I've spent keeping this family afloat. $217,000 over 5 years. Mom's hands trembled as she picked up the paper. That can't be right. It is. I pulled out more statements. Mortgage payments, utilities, Dad's medical bills, credit card debt. All paid from my accounts while you praised Clint for occasionally buying groceries. I was going to pay you back, Clint mumbled. With what? I spread out his loan applications. The money you stole using my name? The fraudulent credit cards? Or maybe with that HELOC you tried to take out against my house. Your house? Mom's voice cracked. But your father. Dad lost it. Years ago. I bought it to save him the shame of foreclosure. I looked directly at Clint. The same shame you've been piling up with every forged document and stolen dollar. I had opportunities, he started. You had addiction, I corrected. Gambling, right? That's where most of it went? His silence was answer enough. Here's what's going to happen, I continued, pulling out a final folder. Inside here is everything you need to know about your options. Mom reached for it with shaking hands. Option 1, I said as she opened it. Clint confesses to everything. Signs a legally binding agreement to repay every cent he stole from me through wage garnishment over the next 10 years. He gets cut off from all family accounts, but stays out of jail. And option 2? Clint asked hoarsely. I file charges tomorrow morning. Identity theft, fraud, forgery, all of it. The evidence is ironclad. You'll do time. You wouldn't, Mom whispered. We're family. Family? I laughed bitterly. Was it family when you demanded my bonus? When you made me watch him waste every chance while I carried everyone's burden? When you... My voice broke. Leah touched my arm gently. When you never once, I continued more quietly, asked how I managed to save this house, how I paid those bills, how I kept everything from falling apart while you worshipped your golden sun. Silence filled the room. Even Clint couldn't meet my eyes. You have 1 hour, I said, standing up. Sign the agreement or I call the police. Your choice. Wait, Clint called as I turned to leave. What about Mom? The house? What about them? Where will she live if I what? Exercise my rights as the legal owner? I pulled out one last document. Don't worry. Unlike you, I've thought about her future. This is a lease agreement. She can stay, paying fair market rent, as long as she respects the terms. Mom stared at the paper, tears rolling down her cheeks. All this time, you were the one? Yes, I said softly. I was always the one. You just never bothered to notice. I nodded to Leah, who started packing up her laptop. 1 hour, I repeated. I'll be in Dad's study. Choose wisely. As we left the dining room, I heard Mom's muffled sobs and Clint's quiet, I'm sorry. But sorry wasn't enough anymore. They wanted a man of the house? Fine. Let them see exactly what their chosen leader had done with that power. The clock was ticking. 58 minutes. That's how long it took them to knock on the study door. Come in, I called, not looking up from Dad's old desk. Mom entered first, clutching the agreement like a lifeline. Clint shuffled in behind her, his face ashen. Leah sat in the corner, laptop ready. Mom's voice cracked. We've made our decision. And? Clint stepped forward, placing a signed copy of the agreement on the desk. I'll pay it all back, he said quietly. Every cent. I picked up the document, checking each signature line. You understand what this means? 10 years of garnished wages. No access to family accounts. Regular drug and gambling addiction counseling. I understand. He swallowed hard. I really messed up, sis. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't sis me right now. Yvonne, Mom stepped closer. Surely we can work this out as a family. A family? I stood up slowly. Let me tell you about family, Mom. Family is spending 5 years watching my checking account drain because Dad was too proud to admit he needed help. Family is working overtime to pay for his medical bills, while you bragged about Clint's latest business venture. Family is... I didn't know, she whispered. You didn't want to know. My voice rose. You had your perfect son, your man of the house. Who cared where the money actually came from? Clint sank into a chair, head in his hands. I never meant for it to go this far. Really? I pulled out my phone, playing the recording of him and Makey. His own voice filled the room. Been paying all the bills for years without saying a word. Dad had her trained good, Mom gasped. Clint's face went even whiter. That's what you really thought, right? I continued. That I was just the trained daughter, the family ATM? Never occurred to you that I might be keeping records? Please, Mom stepped between us. He's still your brother. No. I gathered the signed agreement. He's your son. Your responsibility now. I'm done carrying this family. What about the house? She asked desperately. The lease agreement is there. I pointed to the folder. Market rate rent, starting next month. Sign it or move out. Her hands shook as she picked up the papers. This isn't what your father would have wanted. Dad's not here. I met her eyes. And you know why? Because his pride and his outdated beliefs about family roles killed him. The stress of hiding debt, of pretending everything was fine, of putting all his hope in his son while ignoring his daughter's success. That's what gave him that heart attack. The room fell silent except for Clint's muffled sobs. "Sign the lease, Mom. Or don't. But either way, this ends tonight." She signed. Each scratch of the pen felt like closing a chapter of my life. "Leah," I nodded to my friend. "Send copies to my lawyer." "Already done," she said, typing quickly. "What happens now?" Clint asked, voice hollow. "Now?" I gathered my things. "Now you get a real job. You pay back what you stole. You go to therapy. And you pray I never find another forged document with my name on it." "And us?" Mom's voice was small. "Will we ever be a family again?" I laughed softly. "That depends on you. Both of you. But right now? Right now I need space." I headed for the door, then turned back one last time. "You all demanded his throne," I said quietly. "Now you'll burn with your king." "Yvonne, wait," Mom called after me. But I was already walking away, Leah at my side. Behind us I heard Clint's broken whisper. "What have I done?" Outside, the night air felt clean, fresh, like breathing for the first time in years. "You okay?" Leah asked as we reached my car. I looked back at the house, my house, where the study light still burned, where my mother and brother were facing the consequences of their choices. "No," I answered honestly, "but I will be." My phone buzzed. A text from Aunt Gabriella. "Just got the signed documents. You did it, girl. You're free." Free. What a strange word for something that felt both like victory and loss. "Want to grab a drink?" Leah offered. "Actually," I started my car, "I want to go home. My new home." As we drove away, I watched the house shrink in my rearview mirror. The fortress of lies and manipulation that had held me captive for so long, now just a building I happen to own. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just about winning. It's about finally walking away. The cafe near my new apartment had become my Saturday morning ritual. I sat at my usual corner table, reviewing bank statements, this time just my own. "Mind if I join you?" I looked up to find Aunt Gabriella holding 2 steaming cups. "Is that your famous coffee?" "With an extra shot." She sat down, sliding 1 cup over. "Thought you might need it after yesterday's garnishment hearing." It went exactly as expected. I pulled out the court documents. Judge enforced the full repayment schedule. Clint didn't even contest it. "And your mother?" "Still paying rent on time." I took a sip of coffee. "Still not speaking to me," Gabriella nodded thoughtfully. "You know, your father never spoke to me again after I tried to warn him about his finances. Sometimes silence is the price of truth." My phone buzzed. A text from Leah. "Check your email. Just got an interesting alert from the monitoring system." I pulled up my inbox, finding a forwarded notification. Someone had tried accessing my old joint account with Clint, but this time it was a deposit. "What is it?" Gabriella asked, noting my expression. "Clint just made his first voluntary payment, above the garnishment amount." I showed her the transaction. "And there's a note attached." I opened the message. "I know this doesn't fix anything, but I'm trying. Really trying, this time. See." "Interesting timing," Gabriella mused. "Did you hear about his new job?" "No. We don't exactly chat anymore. He's working at a debt counseling center. Entry-level position, helping other addicts get their finances straight." She stirred her coffee. "Your mother mentioned it at church last week." "You've been talking to Mom?" "Someone has to." She met my eyes. "She's different now. Quieter. Thinks before she speaks." "Good for her." I started gathering my papers. "Yvonne." Gabriella's hand caught mine. "Being right doesn't mean you have to be alone." "I'm not alone. I have you, Leah. You know what I mean." My phone buzzed again. Another email, this time from Mom. My finger hovered over delete, but something made me open it. "I found these while cleaning," the message read. Attached were scanned photos. Me at my college graduation, holding my finance degree. Me at my first job, proud in my new suit. Each moment they'd overlooked, preserved despite their indifference. "I'm sorry I didn't see you then," Mom's message continued. "I'm sorry it took losing you to finally look." "Don't cry into the coffee," Gabriella said softly. "I had them make it extra strong just for you." I wiped my eyes, laughing despite myself. "I'm not crying. I'm calculating." "Oh? What are you calculating?" "The cost of freedom." I pulled out my notebook, the one where I'd tracked every dollar they'd taken. All those years I thought I was buying their love. But really, I was purchasing my own liberation, receipt by receipt. And was it worth the price? I thought about my quiet new apartment, my untouched savings account, the peace of knowing no one would call with emergency demands or guilt-laden expectations. "Yes," I said firmly. But maybe liberation doesn't have to mean exile." I picked up my phone again, looking at Mom's email. Maybe it can mean building something new. On my terms this time. "That's the thing about burning bridges," Gabriella smiled. "Sometimes you get to decide what to build from the ashes." I started typing a reply to Mom. "I have more photos in storage. We could look through them together. Coffee next week?" Then I opened Clint's payment notification and added a note. "Keep trying. That's all anyone can do." "Look at you," Gabriella teased. "The mighty revenge queen shows mercy." "Not mercy," I corrected. "Investment. In a better future. With better boundaries." Speaking of investments, she pulled out an envelope. "The senior partner position is still open at my firm. Someone with your talent for tracking paper trails would be perfect." I opened the envelope, scanning the offer letter. The salary made my eyes widen. "Think about it," she said, standing up. "Family business doesn't always have to be toxic." As she left, my phone lit up with Mom's response. "Coffee would be wonderful. I'll bring the old photo albums. And Yvonne, thank you for not giving up on us completely." I looked at my notebook one last time, all those careful calculations of debt and betrayal, then closed it firmly. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about making others pay. Sometimes it's about learning what you're really worth and making sure you never forget it again.